All right, so I'm about to react to a video that one of my friends sent me on Instagram. My friend who identifies as a black conservative Republican. He said, this is the vibes he gets from black people who are Democrats or black people in general. So he said, take a look at this and tell me what you think. So that's exactly what I'm gonna add up.
Black people, y'all gonna have to explain this shit to me because I am thrown for a loop. Why is it that in every category in life I have option, and no matter what option I pick, you gonna accept me, right? So if let's just say in the streets, if I'm in the streets, if I decide to be black and a gangster disciple or black and a folk on the hustle, guess what? You don't care. You're gonna accept me either way, right? Let's just say my sexual.
So I'm gonna stop him right there. So he just mentioned being black and being in a gang and being accepted by other black people. So he's starting off wrong already. So number one, all black people aren't in the street or in gangs. So a lot of people who are black who are not involved with street activity don't really want to associate or be around those who are. So there's already division there. Number two, for those who are in the streets and are in gangs, obviously different gangs don't see eye to eye and sometimes can't even be around each other without either the threat of violence or actual violence. So that's just not correct.
Sexuality. I could be homosexual, I could be heterosexual. No matter what I pick, you're gonna like it. You're gonna pick me and say it's okay. Education wise, I could be high.
He said another thing that's not correct. So we know in the black community is a lot of what I would say gay bashing, I guess homophobia in terms of I don't think most black people have a problem with gay people per se, but it's very clear when you listen to someone like Boosie and others that they have a problem with the lifestyle or gay people, actively living their lifestyle and being proud about their lifestyle. So we already know in the black community that's not cool. Like it's just not.
Highly educated or highly uneducated. I could have a GED or a PhD. Guess what? You're gonna accept either version of me. My religion.
That's another thing. Black folks, we know if some black people who are not educated, they perceive other black people who are educated as they're bougie. They think they're better than us. They think they're high and mighty. And on the flip side of that, some black people who have education look at those who don't have education as they're not on their level. Like look at a lot of these women who talk about having a date down because apparently black women have more degrees than black men do. So there's also division there. So the three examples that he stated already are not correct. And so he's trying to make it seem like there's all of this unity, but why is that? Is because he's building a narrative, and for that narrative to make sense, he has to set this foundation.
I could be a black and a Muslim, black and Christian, black and Jehovah's Witness, whatever that is. You're gonna accept whatever option I pick. But why, when it comes to my
Then he mentioned religion. We already know, like if you get to talking to black people about just even within Christianity, the different denominations, you got Baptist, Pentecostal, Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventists, all of these different things. Like if people talk about these things, it's gonna be some disagreement, period. But the thing is, people probably don't spend a lot of time talking about it.
political stand, you will only accept black and Democrat. You won't accept black and independent. You won't accept black and Republican. You won't accept black and whatever. Sir, you only Democrat. What hold do the Democrats have on the party that you guys would disown your black brother in Christ?
So here's the thing, right? This is what I've observed in you got a lot of people who like to inject politics in every fucking conversation. So just to give you an example, one time I wanted to buy these golf balls from a guy that I met on OfferUp. So I went to his house to pick up the golf balls. And so older black gentleman, so we just talking, shooting the breeze, and he kept bringing up subjects that are clearly political. And so this is a person who supports Donald Trump. So he kept bringing up different topics. And so I'm thinking in my mind, like, what the fuck does any of this have to do with me picking up these golf balls? But at the same time, like, I'm offering him my opinion. So instead of him taking my opinion at face value and just recognizing that we don't agree, he was saying stuff like, yeah, young brother, you need to stop listening to the mainstream media. You need to get off the Democrat plantation, things like this. And so my thing is this, right? If you are conservative, I don't care. We just disagree on certain things politically. But the problem becomes with a lot of conservatives, I noticed this. They never want to sit there and debate the issues. They want to apply labels. So for example, this guy that I was talking to, he wasn't understanding there's a reason why. Like, so myself, I consider myself a progressive libertarian. So I have very libertarian leanings in terms of I like individual freedoms, and I don't think it's appropriate for the government to step on those, right? But as a progressive, I also think it's appropriate for the government to regulate big businesses, trusts, monopolies, just like Teddy Roosevelt, who's a Republican, who was the first progressive, did. And I also think that the government should provide a safety net for those who need help. And I think that the government should provide health care. So for me, I vote based on those issues, not based on what I see on TV or not based on being on a Democratic plantation. So the thing that is irritating is that sometimes people don't want to sit here and discuss these issues, and they just want to say, okay, since you don't agree with me, you're a victim of being brainwashed by the mainstream media. You're on a Democratic plantation. And it's like, bro, like that's so fucking stupid. So just to give you another example, I used to work with a guy who was Jewish, who was a conservative, and every day, this was back during George Bush was president. Every day we go to lunch and we discuss politics. And so this guy, the difference between him is he could break down his policy positions. Like, hey, I think tax cuts are good because it's better for the individual to spend the money as opposed to the government, which is inefficient. You know, I think we should have a strong military because this, and this. So he could explain why he was a Republican. And he also understood, like, okay, I understand why you're a Democrat because you value, health care and you think the government should provide this. But I personally think that that's not the role of the government. So we would have like different policy debates. It was no name calling, like, oh, you're brainwashed liberal, or you're a victim of the mainstream media, or you're on a plantation. So I think that's the problem, is that these guys, they want to bring up politics, and then when you don't agree, they want to start throwing around labels instead of actually saying, "Hey, this is why I'm a conservative. Help me understand why you're a liberal or a progressive or a libertarian or whatever the case may be." Right. So I think that's probably his problem. I can just tell by how animated he is. Like, he's one of those people that will crowbar politics into any fucking subject. We're talking about sports. He wants to talk about somehow figure out how to turn that into a political. Oh, did you see Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl? And you get what I'm saying. So that's probably his problem.
Your black brother who's educated, your black brother, whatever, because he's not Democrat. What I'm just saying to me as an example, but I have been called in the last 4 months, I have been called more racist slur by black people than I have been called in my whole 40 some years of life, just because I don't stand with the Democrat Party as a black man. Make it make sense. That is a slave mentality to think you only got one choice, one option.
See, there he goes. See, like, I can tell he probably is lost in the right wing echo chamber, because that's what a lot of black people say when they can't have the policy debate. So they start saying things like, you're on a plantation, you're on a Democrat plantation. Your mind is you're mentally a slave to the Democrats, as opposed to, like, let's break down, like, where do you stand on gun control? Where do you stand on abortion? Where do you stand on gay rights? Where do you stand on deficit spending? Where do you stand on a number of different topics? And then it becomes clear, based on where people stand on these issues, which party they align with, right? But they have this condescending view, as if you're so fucking stupid that you can't look at these policy things and decide based on that, that you must be brainwashed by the Democrat Party. You're on the Democrat. It actually is called a Democratic Party, but they call it the Democrat Party, and you're on the Democrat plantation, and you're a victim of the mainstream liberal media. No, motherfucker, we just happen to disagree. Like, why you got to condescend me? Why you got to act like I don't have a fucking brain in my head and throw all these labels at me, as opposed to addressing that this is where we stand on policies and maybe we disagree.
Black people.
So that's all he had to say. And yeah, like I said, man, like, it's people like him. Like, I don't know him personally, but I can just tell by how worked up he gets. He's one of those people. They just crowbar politics in, and people get tired of fucking hearing that shit, bro. So it's not that you're a conservative, it's that you're probably a fucking vocal conservative that's always ramming the bullshit down people's ear, and you're probably not making sense in the process.